Georgia opens as about a 6.5 point favorite over the Vols. I say about because we don't. I mean, this line's jumped around a little bit. I checked it right after Georgia Austin P concluded. Georgia was about a 5.5 point favorite, so people were kind of jumping on and reacting to Tennessee scoring 73 on ETSU, and Georgia Georgia didn't play well against Austin P. So there's that, and then by the time we got home, the line had moved 2 points back to where it was entering into the day. I checked it this morning; it was at 6.5. ESPN had it at 7. So it's kind of 6-7, right? I mean, I hate to. Ryan's gonna make fun of me on that deal, but it's a game. If you're a 4-point favorite or even a 3, you should probably win that game. Anything below 3, now we're talking about a little bit different conversation than other stuff. So if you're sitting there at a 6.5 to 7, if you're a full touchdown favorite to win the game, that's a lot. The last time Georgia was at Neyland, it was not this low, but there's been some weakness from Georgia lately, meaning these last sort of 15 games, and there's been, Tennessee has played well the first 2 weeks of the season. Georgia's played in this scenario of a game 20 times under Kirby Smart. Let me give you some details on that, okay? Because at Dawg Post, we can talk superficially about things for sure. That's not a problem. I've been to Neyland every game since 03. I can tell you the history of it and all that. And that's great. And when you really get into the nitty gritty, we track some stuff. I guess other people don't. I'm a big numbers person, and keeping track of things is kind of psychopathic. Don't start collections. But what I would say about this game for Georgia is they've been in this scenario where they were a field goal to 8.5 point favorites. So I really do not think it will get down to 3 points. That would be a massive move, like Gunnar Stockton isn't playing. So that's not going to happen. But I just put it in there. They've played 20 games like this. They are 14-6 in those games. For those of you doing the math at home, that's a 70% win clip. That's a little higher, slightly, than what the rest of college football does with this odds. So in terms of straight up winning the game, it's a little bit higher. So, there are a few games here to keep in mind. One of the games that Georgia lost of the 6 was at Alabama in 24. They were about a 4-point favorite going into that game. So not much, but not quite like 6.5 or 7. But still, I think the game that LSU 18, Georgia was a 6.5 point favorite to beat LSU on the road. And there were times in that 18 season where Georgia didn't play great. There were times they played pretty well, but there were times they did not play great. And you could tell with Jake Fromm that, even though the explosion could have been around, it wasn't always showing. Are you in that situation with Georgia right now? That's one thing I would kind of pay attention to in the grand scheme of things is that something that, we saw explosion against Marshall. We didn't see it at all really against Austin P, which is one of the reasons you were in a dogfight kind of late in that game. Unless, I don't want to overdo it. This whole weekend was Penn State is up 10-0 against Florida International at the half. Georgia's up 14-3 against Austin P. Clemson's losing to Troy pretty deep into the second quarter, 16-0. You've got there was one other one that I can't remember off the top of my head, but there were way too many games. I mean, and then Florida losing to South Florida. So this is why you need as much perspective, so to speak, in all of this as you can. And that's what you're getting with BetQL. You see the screen, you see the code on the screen. It's just, if you're going to play, it's going to give you more data. Take advantage of our relationship with BetQL and check them out today. A lot of data. If you're into that, make the right calls. It's probably something you should check out. Check that out today. It's a game Georgia should win, okay? Up at Tennessee, it's not necessarily a game they should throttle Tennessee. It's not a game that it necessarily matters how you do it. but it is a game Georgia should win. Now, it's easy for me to say that, and obviously I'll be on the field on Saturday, and I get all that, but you know, I think Kirby Smart's got Georgia's total attention right now, and you've seen Tennessee play well twice, and I'm not dismissing it. I think Georgia could go up there and lose. I'm just going to tell you that right now. I'm not going to pick them to lose. I'm just saying that certainly could happen. And when I say I'm not dismissing it, Tennessee though has played this way at the beginning of seasons before, where, you know, I can't remember who they started against last season, but they destroyed them. And then they played NC State and Charlotte, and they destroyed NC State. And then they played Arkansas and lost. Now, it was on the road, but they went from scoring a pile of points to getting into SEC play, and they didn't score 30, I don't think, the entire season. So I think, you know, if Georgia's offense plays the way it did against Marshall, they'll win by 10. But if they don't, then, you know, you could be looking at I think you probably are looking at a late third, fourth quarter game, but you're in a situation here where these are games Georgia should win, okay? And, you know, you're talking about Tennessee. They should win that game, even though it's on the road. They play Alabama at home. They should win that game, even though that's not been traditionally a great situation for Georgia. They should win that game. And then you go to Auburn. Let's just stay on those 3 games. It's a pretty challenging situation in terms of the schedule. If I told you in the 90s, you know, when Alabama wasn't what they have been 15 years, you know, these last 15 years, if I said, you got to play Tennessee, Alabama, and then Auburn, people would freak out. This is the new world we live in the SEC. And if you're the program that, you know, you've shown to be lately, you go up there and you get the W. You know, you just go and win and you leave. You don't have to score style points. If you lose, you just don't need to get destroyed. It's hard for me in talking with the folks that I talk to, as well as just seeing it. It's hard for me to see them get destroyed because the defense is so solid. Now the question is, what's Tennessee's defense like? It's a good question. I mean, Tennessee's played a legitimate foe in Syracuse. Georgia's not. So if you're going back and watching film and so forth, or watching games, that's what you should watch. You should watch the Syracuse game. The ETSU game, you know, okay. And I would not get overly caught up in the Austin Peay game if you're Georgia any more than I would get caught up in the Texas-Ohio State game. So, like, what I mean by that is these are sample sizes. We are now 16% of the way through this season. We're two out of 12 games. And that's some data. That's not tons. But in that time, we've seen Georgia allow 1 touchdown. We've seen them permit not 100 yards rushing in a game. You know, Kirby is talking about how good defenses don't let people run the ball in on them. Well, you know, that's the only way that Marshall scored a touchdown. But with that said, it was at the 1, it was in the fourth quarter against the thirds. So, against the 3s. So, you know, but he's setting it, you know, he's setting the line. This is a good defense. I don't know if it's suffocating the way that the 21 and 22, really the 21 defense was, but that can't be what we can constantly compare, and we do, every running back that comes to Georgia to Herschel, but y'all, that was 45 years ago. I mean, football's changed dramatically, number one, and number two, Herschel ain't normal. So that's not like that 21 defense. There was nothing normal about that. You basically have the Philadelphia Eagles starting defense playing for you. Like, that ain't normal. You got Nakobe, you got Jordan, you got Jalen Walker. I mean, Devontae. It was just a nonstop smorgasbord of first rounders. That's not. I mean, they're really good, but they're not generationally good. No. So we just saw they're not even decade good compared to what we've seen this decade. So, but they are pretty good. So I don't want to overly compare them. This Tennessee over the years has really scored a bunch of points against teams that are not good on defense or are sort of average. You know, they put Missouri, I mean, they drilled Missouri in 22, I think it was. But then they got drilled by South Carolina later that year. I mean, Georgia sort of physically manhandled them. Has Tennessee, without that running back last year and with the departures on the defense from the season before, have they become more physical? Have they become better at the line of attack? How are they dealing with that quarterback? Is that an upgrade? There are still question marks at Tennessee. There are plenty of question marks at Georgia. But if you're watching this and you're watching Riding Home, you know those questions. You know where the bodies are buried. We don't know so much about Tennessee because you don't follow Tennessee. They played pretty well against Syracuse. We know this. Florida's in some trouble. All right? Florida's in some trouble. And that's why game day is in Knoxville, you know, rather than Florida LSU. So it is what it is. It makes sense. I don't know where I'm falling on this thing in terms of who I'm going to take. But, you know, I think Georgia should win the game. I don't think it's out of the question that they lose. I think they are more likely to win than lose. 7 point, 6.5, it will probably depend on at the end of the week where that number line is. It a 7? Is it a 6.5? 6.5, I might take the Dogs. 5.5, I probably would. 7, like it was 5.5 to 7.5, and I don't know where it is right this second versus where I'm saying 6.5. I mean, that's probably right where it should be. Now I'll add this. If you are a touchdown favorite to win on the road in a league game, you are what people think is the better team. I think they got to go. Georgia got to go show that. Gunner's got to be a little bit more, get the offense to be more explosive. It's not exclusively him. Offensive line's got to play better. But at this stage, you've got what you've got, and you got to go play and win on the road. This will be, outside of Texas going to Ohio State and LSU going to Clemson, this is going to be probably one of the biggest tests for an SEC team because it's league play and you're on the road. I'm on the road too. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.